Hey, so we're back. We're still working on the final project for Comp 306 C++ for programmers. The final project is a text-based adventure game, and I've had nothing but problems with this. Like I said, it all stemmed from the fact when I lost a flash drive, and then I tried to piecemeal code that I already had written because there is a lot of code associated with this project. And it's quite clear at this point, it was clear actually a while ago, that it would have been better just to start over and start fresh. But I've tried to correct this code, which has resulted in me going back and forth uh, on different issues so many times. Anyway, we're at the, and really I'm running out of time. I have a final exam tomorrow, which I can't push because my contract end date ends tomorrow. And I've spent so much time in this, I haven't prepared for that exam in any way. I still don't, I'm not even close to still having this project done, and all the other projects that are, you know, in various stages of completion. So, not great, but let's push through. So, the latest thing I just had an issue is I kind of just stopped trying to solve one issue I was having in this project, and just decided to go back to save the game and load the game and check that out. I had done that in isolation before and it worked. And when I did this time, it wasn't working. And I was curious why, so I've spent time this morning trying to figure that out. And then realized the reason it wasn't working was because I ended up doing, following the advice of online and, some, tutorials and creating load and save files for each of my objects. So that way I could do manual serialization instead of using Boost or something. And so each of my classes have their own save and load method, or at least the top level ones do. Like my game object container has a save and load method. The game object container has a save and load method, which actually just calls the save and load method in game object container, just makes a call to its superclass or its parent class save method and load method, namely game object. So this is where the bulk of the save and load method is in the game object. So I've rewritten these previously. However, when I was doing my save and load and it wasn't working this morning when I went to test that all out, it's because I hadn't changed. I was still using just the direct pointers and trying to save the data directly instead of relying on my save and load methods. So I've re-switched the code up to rely on my save and load methods, at least for the pointer types, like the actual data. The primitive types, the int, the score and height, I still just write that directly. But now I'm relying on my save and load method for the location and game object. And to be honest, the location and game object themselves don't have a save and load method, but they just inherit from game object container because both location and game objects are derived classes from game object container. So now that I've got that going, things should work. So, but I just noticed an issue, so maybe we're going to work through it together. Because if I look right now, I'm at the riverbank. That's where the game starts. So again, still all my default debug code, but I'm at the riverbank. And then if I go east, don't want to hear a riddle. Go south, don't want to hear a riddle. And then go west, and again, don't want to hear a riddle. And now if I look, I'm in the Great Hall. So as you can see, I'm in the Great Hall. However, if I save the game, save is successful, right? And we can look, I didn't have a save file before. We can look now that a save file just showed up. I had just deleted it. And although we can't really read it, we can see Great Hall. We're in the Great Hall, right? Descriptions, whatever. So, that's that. Now, I'll quit the game. So I've quit the game. I'm going to replay the game. And, if I look I'm in the riverbank. So down here you can see that I'm still in the riverbank. And then if I load the game, we can see that it loading game and then game was loaded successfully. And it sets the name to Great Hall, so it's clearly reading from the file. And then it sets the location for the character to Great Hall. However, when I look around, I'm still in the riverbank as if the game just started. And if I go east and say no, well, guess where I am? I'm at the rabbit hole. Well, I mean, I can see based on the description. So it didn't actually do anything for me. It technically saved the game, so to speak, but and I read from the file, but it's not doing it. So clearly there's an error somewhere else in the code, and I figured we'd just go through it together. And I kind of got a hint right there, actually, as I was just looking, and said that when I was just looking closer at the code, where the game said loaded game, where is it? Right here. The character, I just noticed that it says it did set the location to Great Hall for the character, but then it made me think, when I first load the game in the Alice in Wonderland text-based adventure game, we make a call to the default constructor. Let's get rid of some of this junk. We make a call to the default constructor, which then in the Alice in Wonderland text-based adventure game is right here, the default constructor, and that does all of our populating our files and everything. But it also, our starting location, we just get from location. I grab from the map location 0. So maybe we just need to change that right away. So if I copy that code, comment it out, and we're going to get, instead of that, we're going to access the character's location. So we're going to go player dot get location. Now this might throw an error if the player hasn't been created yet. This is kind of seems like a circular problem because I only declare the player here. So what I could do is I could make it so that, because when the player is first called, it uses starting location to see where the game starts. Let me just see what order things are happening in. When I load the game, this has already been done, the starting location, and I create my character based on that. I'm not sure what order things are happening in. See, I'm trying to do this in live time. Think about it. Because let's see, in the main game, in the main file, where am I here? In the main game, we've already created the game object in the file beforehand, so it gets created, and then I show enter, and then I load a game. If load game, I load the game. So I've already created the thing, so I should be changing the location, but I'm obviously not somehow. So let's just go back to the start here. So as soon as I load the game, I go to main, I go to load game, character set location is Great Hall, and then I get player, get player, get player. But then, right down here, so game is loaded correctly, but then when I go to look, parsing verb, I get the name return riverbank. So I'm just trying to follow my code and see what's happening. After I look, after game was loaded successfully, after I successfully loaded up, and then I call the command look, I go in process verb, then look command, and I get the name riverbank. I return riverbank, character.get location, and it returns riverbank. So why is that? So I'm going to have to go look to the look command and see what's happening. look, you are in the player.get location. That returns a pointer to the current location of the player, and then describe location. So that should give me the location. That returns a pointer. And in the save method, I was calling the set location method in character. We've seen that it called character set location. We called the set location method for the character. And we passed in a location pointer. That's what we would have read in. And then we've seen that we called this location set location. Location.get name, we got the location name. This is all happening here, remember? When we called the set name to Great Hall. We got the player, get player. We called the get player method, set name, and then that called the character set location. So we ultimately called the character set location, passing in Great Hall. So I'm just following this through. Passing in Great Hall here. And then we assign location, which is a pointer, to location, which is another pointer. So the character so location is a pointer. So I'm just trying to follow this through. So after I set location, and then I assign location, which is a location pointer, to location, which is the instance variable location pointer. And before I do that, well, we know location.getName is Riverbank at that point, so it should be assigned properly. So I'm assigning one pointer to the other, and so this is an address to the variable, assigning it to this. That should be great. In fact, afterwards I should be able to do a debug. Let's just do a debugger and print out, saying that I don't need to use that. I just want to go location equals location.getName. Let's just rerun this and see what the location is at that point too, but it should be still, it should still be location. Let's go up to the default constructor too. I'm just looking at a bunch of stuff at the same time. The default constructor, let's go up to the parameterized constructor. Name, description, location pointer. I take in a location pointer, int height, and a game list thing. So now I'm going to go back to this class where I call, this class, where I call the character constructor, passing in Alice, a curious little girl, starting location, which is a pointer. So this is the problem. I'm passing in starting location, player.getLocation. That will always get me the location. So that's what I'll do. So the starting location happens when the game starts anyway. So that's really shouldn't matter. Because it shouldn't really matter for that. Because this happens at the start of the game. All I really need to do, in fact, I'm going to take that away. All I need to do is afterwards I'm setting the player's location, and it should just set it. And then once the player's location is set, it should be set everywhere. Let's just rerun this. So I'm going to load right away because I know the file exists. And so I should be in the Great Hall, but if I look around, I'm not in the Great Hall. But what was happening? After I loaded, again, I ran the auto add or remove items based on location, character get location, location riverbank. So according to this, after I loaded, my character's location is still riverbank. Which makes no sense, because up here when I load, again, I call the set location method on character. Location is Great Hall, so I mean my instance variable associated with the player is Great Hall. I'm not sure what's happening in here that's screwing it up. We'll have to look at that. I call get player a few times. Game loaded successfully, but as soon as I call get location here, it's quite clear that it's saying location is still riverbank. The only The only thing I can think, I'm going to do something right quick. When the game first loads up, I never see this print out, even though it's supposed to. I never see it print out, so I'm going to assume there's something wrong with the one parameter version there. And just do this. Make it a 3 parameter version, see if we actually get a printout. I've never seen a printout of it, and I didn't really pay attention until just now that I haven't been getting a printout. And it could be that my 1 parameter version of debugger isn't quite working, and I'm really only using the 1 parameter version here. So we'll just put this here and see what we get. Okay. So main happened, main show intro. So I still didn't see the printout, but obviously a lot of stuff happened that just never got printed. If I load the game, load was successful. I should be in the Great Hall. If I look, I'm still not in the Great Hall. Get location. I'm at the riverbank. Why am I at the riverbank? I need to see what's happening in these get player methods. I'm calling get player, get player. Let's go back to my load method. Well, here's the get player method here, and it simply returns player, which player is, initialized when I first load the game. So it should just be returning that. And player is, well, if we open up this, player is a character. You know what? Maybe it's because it's a copy the whole time. A character pointer. Let's change player to a character pointer, which means we need to create a new character. Which means get player returns a pointer to a character. So returning, so that's get player. Return type out of line of definition. That's Wonderland get player. Did I miss it? Oh, get player. So get player. So now set player takes in a character pointer. Like it takes in a character by reference. I'll just put pointer because I've been using pointer the whole time. And it assigns this player, which is a pointer, to this player pointer. That should work. I'll probably end up screwing everything up here because I'm not in the full zone here. So I'm taking in a player as a pointer. Again, typically it'd be better to use references in modern C++, but everything's pointers at this point, so I'm just sticking with it. Set player, get player, really. Oh, so now everywhere I have player and using dot notation, because it's a pointer now, I have to use the arrow operator. So that's going to be a fair bit. So let's just change that to player arrow. Not really looking too close, indiscriminately pressing buttons. Hopefully I don't screw the whole thing up. Probably should have made a save point in my code before doing this. Anyone watching at home is probably wondering why I'm not pressing replace all. It's just I kind of want to see all the locations that this is affected. Hopefully this makes a difference. Okay, so let's save this project for now. Let's X this. I'm going to save this before recompiling this video. I'm going to save because sometimes when you recompile, especially if there's been a lot of changes, the processing power is way too much for my laptop and it shuts off the video. So I'll be back in a second and we'll actually compile this code.